Hi BookTube, I'm here with my September TBR. Yes, I have another TBR. I'm still going with kind of like the experimental kind of side, but I'm not unwrapping any books this month because my primary book that I want to read in September, that I want to finish in September, that I need to finish in September is Brothers Karamazov. I am working on 3 very intense essays on this that I kind of want to make into videos, and I've been working on this for like 2 years, and I think I really need to get it done. There's only 300 pages left, and I've got all my notes up here. This is for my first reread, or for my first read, and I'm rereading it with these purposes in mind. I'm just at the trial now, but I only have 300 pages left. But it is slow going because I do take intensive notes in here. Oh, there's no notes on that page. There's notes on that page. And I'm reading it with 3 purposes in mind. So yeah, if you want to know, I can tell you what those purposes are. I think that's interesting. My first purpose is looking at how the 3 brothers kind of represent the id, ego, and superego, according to Freud. Freud did actually reference Brothers Karamazov when coming up with the theory. So Brothers Karamazov, sorry, predates the Freudian id, ego, superego thing. But I don't necessarily believe in Freud, but I think it's a good tool for analysis and reading the book more in depth. Those are the orange tabs. The yellow tabs are me looking for Dostoevsky in Brothers Karamazov, because he wrote this after a long stint in Siberia where he was sent to a working prison camp. Came back a different person, supposedly. So that's what I'm looking for, and also coming across things like anti-Semitism and stuff, and thinking is that part of Dostoevsky as well. It probably is, and different aspects of like Dostoevsky's personality, but more so looking at how that prison camp influenced Brothers Karamazov. And lastly, the blue bits are looking at the idea of Sobernost, which is like the Russian spirit. So looking at religion, politics, how those 2 were intertwined, and the idea in there, because we were reading this as Western readers, and we may have a different view of it than what the Dostoevsky actually had in mind in regards to Sobernost. And I'm probably not saying that right, but yeah. So yeah, that's my primary concern this month. But I didn't want to stop my other reading projects, which are to read a book by an Indigenous author, a book by a Black author, and a book about religion, and a book about religion. And I decided to throw in an ebook in there as well. So I chose some really short books to do that. On my ebook reader, I'm currently reading Zealot, so that's not the cover, that should be on there. But the ebook I'm reading, I asked for random numbers from Google, and it gave me Scythe by Neal Shusterman, which I think is very popular on BookTube. It's about a world where there's no natural death, so there's people that are trained to be kind of like our vision of the Grim Reaper, and to go around and kill people. So I figured that's like a kind of YA, it should be easy to read. And then I got these 3 short books. My pick for my religious read is The Pilgrim's Regress by C.S. Lewis, which is a reference to The Pilgrim's Progress, which I haven't read, but it says right here, though the dragons and giants of this fable are different from those of Bunyan, who's the author of Pilgrim's Progress, the allegory performs its old function of enabling the author to say with brevity and simplicity what would otherwise have demanded a full-length philosophy of religion. So this is fiction, but also non-fiction in the sense that it's an allegory. Then I'm reading I Am Woman, A Native Perspective on Sociology and Feminism by Lee Maracle, and this is the 2nd edition. But she says on the back, I Am a Woman represents my personal struggle with womanhood, culture, traditional spiritual beliefs, and political sovereignty, written during a time when that struggle is not over. My original intention was to empower Native women to take to heart their own personal struggle for native feminist being. The changes made in the second edition of the text do not alter my original intention. It remains my attempt to present a native woman's sociological perspective on the impacts of colonialism on us as women and on myself personally. So we have some intersectionality there. That's my Indigenous author pick, in case that wasn't obvious. And yeah, this is the last one. And then my pick for a Black author is the Black Canadian author who I've already read this year and who I love, and that's Ian Williams' Not Anyone's Anything. And it's, I'm going to read the back because it says it's perfectly. A trio of trios, 3 sets of 3 stories, with 3 of those stories further divided into thirds. Mathematical, musical, and meticulously crafted, these stories play profoundly with form and feature embedded flashcards and musical notations, literal basements, and dual narratives, semi-detached. And it takes place in Toronto, and I tagged a few pages to kind of show you. The reason I love Ian Williams is because he experiments with form and with writing. So here we have this page, which has I don't know, I can't identify that writing, but it's Asian script there. And then we get this, which I guess is the basement section, so you get this big black line right here dividing the stories. Here we have the page divided into 2. And lastly, I think this is neat, that there's musical notation there to tell the story as well. And then there's some books from August that I'm kind of carrying over into September as well, and that is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James, which is a fantasy story based on African mythology. We follow Tracker, who has this special nose that he's able to sniff people out, and he is in prison telling his story to an inquisitor. And it's really interesting. It feels kind of detached, like I don't feel like an emotional connection to anything yet, but the story is intriguing enough, the plot is intriguing enough that I would like to continue. I'm carrying over my audiobook, Lie Sleeping, by Ben Aaronovitch, which is a book further down the series. I don't know which book it is at this point. I lost track. And it's continuing on from previous stories. It seems to be more of dealing specifically with the overarching plot instead of being like its kind of own plot with the overarching stuff in the background. So I can't really tell you much about it. Yeah, and if you don't know the Rivers of London series, it's a police procedural told from the perspective of Peter Grant, a black detective with the folly, which is kind of like the magical aspect of policing. So he deals with magical crimes. Yeah, okay, so that's it for my September TBR. There may be other books that come up. If I finish these ones, I'll probably finish the audiobook, but I don't have one lined up specifically to listen to next. It will probably be, I will probably continue with the Peter Grant series. I think the next one is a novella or a short story called The October Man. And then after that is False Value, which I think is the last book that's currently out in that series. So yeah, I plan on catching up with that because I just love the narrator, to be honest. Kobna Holdbrook-Smith is an amazing narrator. Yeah, so that's my September TBR. Let me know what you plan on reading this month, and thank you for watching.